got any weapons I can use on the bad orange man?
These are not the rocket launchers you are looking for.
I will just have to find something else.
President Trump, if he loses, they'll like kill him again. They'll all the lawfare comes right back. They'll put him in prison. They'll have like 20 new things to put him in prison for, and that President Trump will like die in jail. That was the goal. That was the goal last time. And so they're gonna restart that machine. They have the keys. The engine's warm. They just turn the thing on. They're ready to go with this. Nobody has more to lose on this gambit than Trump, and he's already seen how permissive the superstate is to his death. That this is potentially what they want. And so, understand that like this is a man who's playing a game of very, very high stakes. And he doesn't want to lose. His loss isn't going to be a couple points in his retirement fund. His loss may potentially be his life. This is something that we've learned in an absolutely shocking bombshell drop from the DOJ. Let's jump on over to the actual document itself. I want to go through this thing because this is the Ryan Routh versus the United States of America and government's motion yesterday to admit potential evidence. So this is standard. But there was something very unique about this actual document. This document was actually brought directly to the judge. It's now been released. This wasn't even given to Ryan Routh's attorney. They wanted the judge to assess this document and to read through it and look through the government's evidence against Routh. And then look at what they have, please, the full document. Okay? So look at the actual evidence itself and how this all happened. I want to start here on page 8. February 2024, Routh's messaging contact with post-assassination escape. Do you know that Ryan Routh was using the cartels? After he decided to kill Trump, he was going to use the cartels in order to escape the country. In February, Routh began an extensive WhatsApp conversation with a person Routh had saved in his phone as Ramiro, who lives in Mexico. Their exchanges in that month culminated in Routh seeking Ramiro's help, potentially smuggling an Afghan migrant family into the United States from Mexico, with the two discussing operations illegality, the migrants' lack of status, and the potential to need to bribe officials before the exchange concluded with Routh objecting to Ramiro's proposed price. This is going to be a treasure trove of understanding how the human smuggling operation worked. Why would you need to get an Afghan family into America exactly? How does Ryan Routh understand all of these systems of criminal immigration and human smuggling? Well, because he was doing it in Ukraine. We know this is something that we knew previous to this bombshell filing by the government. We knew that Ryan Routh was migrating people into Ukraine. Why was he doing that? To fight the Ukraine war. How could he possibly get ISIS fighters into Ukraine? Here's his damn website. It's like we're the only shows that really ever catalog these kind of things or look into this stuff. Stuff's wild. His website's still up, so who's paying this hosting fee? I'm glad it is, though, because he says, hey, yo, listen, I have the connections to get you no-look visas into Ukraine. What do we know about Ukraine based on New York Times reporting? That Ukraine is just a total vassal state, fully operationalized via the CIA. Our own CIA has multiple headquarters, stations of operation in Ukraine, and they're literally running the war. Everything that's happening in this war is happening with permissibility from our own Central Intelligence Agency. This is well reported out. I'll pop the New York Times article up in a second. Okay, let's go grab that. Ryan Routh understands human smuggling because, well, at the very least, we know that he did this in Ukraine. Ryan Routh continually messaged that ISIS fighters from Iran, Afghanistan, that people from all around the world could come to Ukraine and could fight on behalf of Ukraine for a fee. And he would smuggle them in with no-look visas. What the hell is that going on there? Well, no-look visas, that means that he'd have to have some type of connection to the United States government in order to rubber stamp a visa to get into a war zone. Because you can't just do that. You can't just walk into a war zone. You can't go to Ukraine. I really encourage you not to try. You can't go to Ukraine right now. You can't go walk up to the front lines. I'm telling you, don't try. If you try, there's a real good chance that you're going to be like arrested as like either an enemy combatant, somebody who shouldn't be there, somebody who's there nefariously. But somehow Ryan Routh was able to human smuggle, who knows, thousands of fighters into the front line. How would he be able to do that? Check this out. The Spy Wars, how the CIA secretly helped Ukraine fight Putin. This article goes in, if we don't have the time to read it right now, we have read it before on the show. This article goes into great detail as to how after the America-led coup in 2014, the CIA just seized control of all of Ukraine, and they've operationalized everything. Getting access to the battlefield and access to fighters is a CIA operation. Ryan Routh was a go-man. He was a frogman that was allowed to recruit fighters and was told that this was his job and his mission. If you want to go really far down the rabbit hole, you'll find that his CIA handlers were the first people to follow him on X. Now, his account's been deleted, but there are still screenshots of some very mysterious CIA agents, people that have CIA in their LinkedIn bio, that now they work for NGOs, right? But they were CIA operatives that were some of Ryan Routh's first follows. These people didn't have big accounts. They aren't like big names. And they followed him back. So you make the connections here. But this is how Ryan Routh learned about human smuggling. And there's something very scary it's a thread that we're going to pull here, but it's going to really like kind of shock you. And it certainly shocked us when we were reading this. Ryan Routh isn't dumb. Please stop saying this guy's dumb. Let's go back to the filing, please. This guy really understood how to human smuggle, how to get these operations done. He was working at a high level to do it. He was working clearly with our own State Department to get no-look visas, rubber stamp visas, to get fighters to the front lines of a war zone. He had the connections to get it done. Stop saying, and I will certainly as well, but stop saying that he's a cuckoo pants guy. He's not. This guy was an operator. This guy's terrifying in his capacity. He was regularly in Ukraine. He was regularly photographed on the front lines himself in full military gear, tactical gear. And it looks like he was now working with the Ukrainian military to get some of that tactical gear sent back home so that he could kill Trump with it. Let's continue to read. Ryan Routh is not dumb. This is my major takeaway. Ryan Routh's not dumb. Ryan Routh's incredibly connected and was operating at a very sophisticated and high level to kill Trump with the help of whom? So he's trying to human smuggle Afghanis into America through the southern border. He's working directly with the cartel to smuggle these people in. This is the result of Joe Biden's open borders. Did Joe Biden want this to happen? Did he want some Afghan migrants? Did he want Afghan militants to go kill Trump? Were they supposed to be there to help Routh? Were they creating a kill box for Donald Trump? Yes, they were. The answer is yes, of course they were. There were supposed to be probably 7 different people all around the peripheral of the golf course that day. Get me the map of the golf course, please, with the schematic with Routh. There's supposed to be you're supposed to create a kill box. This is what was supposed to happen in Butler. They created a kill box for Trump, where Trump can't escape. Trump's sitting there, somebody up on a high elevation. They were able to create a kill box for Trump. This is what they were going to do. Routh was going to bring in Afghan fighters who worked with him in Ukraine. These are terrorists. They were going to smuggle them through the southern border. It's incredible. This filing is bone-chilling. And then they were going to kill Trump. So here's where Routh was. You can see him right there. That's where he was positioned. He was going to kill Trump right there. 150-yard shot. Man, that's nothing. 150-foot shot. Correction. He could have killed Trump, though, at any of those locations. That's 700 feet. That's 400 feet. 150 feet. Longest successful sniper round was over 3,000 feet. Do you understand? These are easy shots for anybody who's trained. Ryan Routh wanted to work with the cartels to escape after he'd killed Trump. This was the goal. The goal was to get out after murdering Trump and used the cartels to smuggle himself out of the country. Routh intentionally sought a professional smuggler who specialized in clandestine migrant crossings, including bribery of officials. And they have all of his chats. Really, truly remarkable. Do you know they had an ID on him? Components of destructive device of ammunition box that Routh delivered. Third, this court should admit evidence of an improvised destructive device components and a 50 caliber ammunition. IED. Where have I heard that before? Hold on. Wait a second. This is interesting. You know, I've never actually heard that Ryan Routh had a bunch of IEDs. Where did I hear that before? Oh, shit. You know, I remember this guy named Matthew Thomas Crooks that also had a bunch of like improvised explosive devices. Even though he's like some zit-faced, gangly goof troop who looks like he like doesn't have the strength to unload the dishwasher. Somehow this guy was able to create 3 IEDs that were operable, that were in his vehicle. The goal in Butler was to detonate the IEDs to distract everybody away from, the stage, and then he gets Trump. That was the goal. Now, to our knowledge, none of those devices detonated correctly, but that was the goal. Create a diversion, kill Trump. And now we find out that Ryan Routh followed the exact same path. Wow, the chances! Really something here. Let's go ahead and read here. 50 caliber ammunition recovered from the box containing Routh's Dear World letter and his burner phones. Do you know what the Dear World letter is from Routh? Him saying that he will gladly offer $150,000 for anyone who can kill Trump. He knew he might not be successful, so he left that letter with the knowledge that it would immediately be blasted out there to the media, which is one of the first things that happened. The first thing we learned about Ryan Routh was that he had a bunch of money and anybody who wanted to kill Trump can get really rich doing it. That was the first thing they blasted out. It's almost like it was all planned in case he wasn't successful. All of his burner phones, his letters, all of which proves Routh's intent to kill and possess a firearm as a convicted felon. On top of the recovery of the box, the United States will be presenting expert testimony in the box's destructive device components, including a barrel, breech, spring-loaded firing mechanism. Large caliber ammunition was designed to construct a device that would fire the ammunition with deadly effect. Coupled with the evidence, the United States will present a manually titled Improvised Explosives, How to Make Your Own, which was recovered from a nearby storage trailer on Routh's place of business, as well as shotgun shells, a Ruger pistol from the trailer. This court should admit that this evidence is intrinsic of Routh's intent to assassinate President Trump on 2 respects. First, possessing the materials and ammunition that would be constructed to breach the barrel and a lethal device, coupled with the instruction manual for demonstrating his intent in a homemade weapons accessory and anti-ballistics armor, minimum proof of his comfort with causing death to other human beings, and there is other purpose for such items, goes directly with the intention to kill. Second, the evidence is also quite literally inexorably intertwined with the box containing the Dear World letter, as it's Routh's prior trips to Florida, because it drives home the deadly intent of giving further context to other facts. The 50 caliber ammunition in particular explains Routh's later attempts in late August to obtain a 50 caliber sniper rifle that would have been able to use the ammunition. The ammunition in Routh's storage trailer further explains the box contents, with the manual showing how to make an improvised explosive device and other ammunition, constituting further circumstantial evidence of the box showing the Routh intent and purpose to use the bullets to cause harm. Now we get to the actual meat of this filing. All of this stuff is fascinating. It is a 21-page filing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what's going viral as of this morning. Ryan Routh hit up the Ukrainian military to give them weapons that could kill Trump on a golf course or shoot his plane down. Oh, yeah. Remember how we heard whispers about how they were really ramping up security around Trump's plane? Trump's plane had like military escorts. There were some rumors of a decoy plane that flew always with President Trump wherever he was flying. I wonder why we got that news cycle. Well, here we go. August 2024, attempt to purchase anti-aircraft weapons. This court should admit Routh's 2024 attempt to acquire anti-aircraft weapons as direct evidence of his assassination attempt. That month, Routh sought to purchase the devices online from an associate that Routh believed to be a Ukrainian with access to military weapons. The two had discussed the July 2024 attempt to assassinate President Trump that occurred in Pennsylvania, with Routh writing, "I wish," via encrypted messaging app, saying, "I wish that President Trump had been killed." The two began discussing Routh's purchase of a weapon in August. To that end, Routh told his associate, "Send me an RPG, rocket-propelled grenade, or a Stinger missile, that I will see, and I will see what I can do. Trump is not good for Ukraine," which led to the two discussing Routh's purchasing options, with Routh asking about the price and whether the associate could ship it to me, before then explaining his intent. "I need equipment so that Trump cannot get elected." The two then exchanged messages about the price and logistics that included Routh writing, "Going to a local store for such items is impossible. However, you lose these items on a daily basis. One missing would not go noticed. Do you think Trump will be good for Ukraine?" The two continued to discuss the possibility of Routh securing a rocket or a missile launcher, with Routh sending the associate an image of President Trump's plane, writing, "Trump's plane. He gets on and off daily." Was this an actual Ukraine? I mean, listen, okay, Ryan Routh knows people in Ukraine. He knows Ukrainian fighters. He knows the Ukrainian military. He's been to Ukraine a bunch of times. Nobody knows how he got there. Nobody knows how he could afford to do it. Nobody knows who was rubber stamping the visas. It was clearly our State Department in coordination with our CIA. They were running Routh. This wasn't an undercover. Routh was communicating with the Ukrainian military. Routh was asking about arms smuggling, which the Ukrainian military does, to war zones. This is how they make a profit. This is how these guys, all these generals get rich and then retire in the Balkans on the Adriatic Sea, or buy platinum mines in Africa. They sell the weapons we send them. Ryan Routh knows this, and he wanted to buy them through the cartels and smuggle in fighters to kill President Trump. This is the biggest bombshell document in the world right now, and the entire planet should be talking about it. I am blown away. That is virtually just our show that is taking this kind of stuff seriously. This rips open the underbelly of exactly what this operation in Ukraine was. Give us guns and more money now. Otherwise, we will use the guns you've already given us to kill you. Do you understand? That was what was on the table. This is what Ryan Routh was trying to buy. And ladies and gentlemen, I think there are a lot of questions that need answered. Who is handling Ryan Routh? Why did they continue to let President Trump golf and fly on this plane when they knew a guy was trying to get a missile to shoot the plane out of the sky and kill President Trump? Why did Ryan Routh get this close to President Trump? Here's the map again. Ryan Routh was within feet of Donald Trump. How'd that happen exactly? And I think the most important question, who in our federal government knew about Ryan Routh? Who knew that this was happening? I'm well aware that the federal government can go and spy on all of my Signal chats and text messages. And I send every message with the understanding that there's probably a Fed on the other end of the line reading it. Clearly, he was being monitored. The government has all of this information. He was already on the FBI's wanted list already. The FBI already knew who Ryan Routh was. Yet, he was allowed to sit and camp out there in the bushes within feet of Donald Trump, having sent all of these messages and doing all of this, and they'll arrest you for memes. Are you effing kidding me? It's frying my brain right now. Are you kidding me? They'll arrest you for sending the wrong meme, but Ryan Routh is able to get RPGs or to try and pay for RPGs to shoot Trump's plane out of the sky to kill Trump. Last thing I'll read, page 13. Routh's request for anti-aircraft weapon shows his destructive intent. For the steps, such as surveillance of Trump's Palm Beach International Airport, his active tracking of President Trump's plane, his stated intent to destroy the plane, in his Dear World letter, the jury will not be able to fully appreciate the purpose of this conduct without also knowing his intent to purchase the rocket launcher. Did the Ukrainian government, just put up the B-roll of Trump and Zelensky, did they know? That's my question. Of course, Ukraine is a super state that is being run by the CIA. Did they know about this assassination? Did they warn anyone? Did anybody try and do anything? Are there ever any cables that say, hey, this Ryan Routh guy is trying to buy weapons of war to kill Trump? He says so in his own writings. I just read to you all of his text messages. Is this why Zelensky was treated like this in the White House? Is this the undergirding of this treatment? That President Trump and J.D. Vance were well aware of what the F was going on here. Is that it? They were well aware of what Zelensky was doing, that his government knew that they were trying to kill Trump with our own weapons, and they did nothing. Does that lead to some of the bitterness here that you saw, like the open aggression and resentment rightfully deserved in the White House from Zelensky? And oh, by the way, right when this filing comes out, Ukraine sends an emergency delegation to negotiate peace in Washington. They're doing it right now. Boy, it's almost like they knew.